Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your patience as we figure out all the technology. My name is Kate Ezra. I'm the Nolan Curator of Education and Academic Affairs here at the gallery. I supervise the 7 student curators who worked on the exhibition Contemporary Art South Africa, which includes 2 photographs by Zanele Muholi from the Faces and Phases series. And Zanele has been so generous with her time and agreed to give a talk here in the gallery this afternoon in conjunction with the exhibition. She has brought with her one of the participants in the Faces and Phases series, Lebo Mashifane, and Lebo has also graciously agreed to talk to us about her work and her participation. I know that everyone here is familiar with Zanele's work, so I don't have to give a lengthy introduction to her, and I want to save time. I do just want to thank Laura Wexler, Professor of Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies and American Studies, for helping to plan today's event. And today's event is co-sponsored by the gallery, by the Photographic Memory Workshop, and by LGBT Studies here at Yale. So with that brief introduction, Laura would like to say a couple of words.
Yeah, well, and I also want to thank Kate Ezra for making this occasion possible, allowing the Photographic Memory Workshop to partner, and thank Zanele and everyone who came with her for coming. It's a long trip, and it's an intense thing to do, to bring this work to us here. And I just want to say for the whole group of us, we're very grateful. Thank you for doing that. And I want to leave you with one thought from me about the work. Most recently, I mean, Zanele Muholi describes herself as an activist, a photographic activist. And you obviously know a lot about what that means, and we'll learn more after today. But in reviewing her work and in also reading the terrific article about her in the Daily today, which you should take a look at, I was struck by a parallel that I hadn't thought of before. Many of you know about the mothers of the disappeared from the dirty war in Argentina, and the many thousands of people, their children, who were trying to work against the dirty war in Argentina and who were disappeared and have never been found. And we're now in the 2nd generation of the grandmothers of the disappeared. And they gather and they proclaim, bring them back alive. Bring them back alive. I have never really understood what that means, because they know that their children are lost and dead. Bring them back alive. And it was understanding something about Zanele's work in the past couple of days that made me realize what this is. Because the activism has to do with life. The activism has to do with not only making an archive of those who were alive and sometimes those who are no longer with us, but of the now, where we are now in the period of time that we are alive, to bring that forward to the future. And that has characterized Zanele's dedication and work for many years, including the newest phases of it. I wanted to share that thought with you and invite Zanele to come up and talk to us with thanks. Oh, okay. And Lebo is going to speak first. Okay.
Greetings and peace to everyone. I like how my name is being pronounced here, Lebo. My name is Lebo. The full name is Lebo Mashifane. I'm from South Africa. At the moment, I'm working on a project called What the Youth Wants. I just relocated from Cape Town in South Africa, and now I live in Joburg. So the transition of moving from the suburbs of Cape Town to the township of Johannesburg, back home, that is, it's been a drastic change, and I'm still finding it hard to adjust. However, it's also been an eye-opener because I've realized that, you know what, in the township, we are still lacking a lot of things. We have needs that people don't even think of, you know. We don't, some places in the township don't have running water, you know. Sanitation, just basic stuff, you know, a proper shelter, your home where you sleep every day. It's a place that can be flooded anytime, that can be raided at any time, you know. It's like being a soldier, you just don't know when it's going to be daytime. So, you know, I lived for 10 years in Cape Town where I was comfortable in a very cushy space, where I had running water, where I had my own privacy. Now I'm at a place where, you know, it's the toilet is outside. It's about perhaps 2.5 meters from where the house is. So, you know, you get to use sort of like the bucket system for a toilet. So, you know, those are things that people in suburbs probably don't even understand or know of, you know, of the difficulties that we have. So my project then became based on what does the youth want? What do we need, in fact, as the youth? Coming back to the township of Guatemala, the township is, I think, is what you call the ghetto. So living in the township now and seeing these voids, I realized that it's about time that we perhaps speak as the youth, as the Black youth, and especially the Black lesbian youth of South Africa. You know, I should think those are the things that are not even captured in life, because we've heard about the Nelson Mandelas, but gay content, queer content in South Africa is still censored. So the people that I've been connecting with, the youth that I've connected with, in terms of what they want, you know, it's quite amazing of the things that they mention, you know. I mean, there's still an issue of safety because homophobia is still massive in South Africa. Ignorance, intolerance, it's still a big issue for us as black queer in South Africa. So just to bring back the content of what the youth wants, it has become a journey for me as well, trying to find myself in new surroundings and trying to understand the surroundings as well. So, you know, the difficulties we face, you find that you're in the township, your safety is not guaranteed. Your shelter, your home is probably not guaranteed for long. And trying to access knowledge and information of what goes on out there. I mean, we are far from spaces like these, so some of us are stuck with the creative minds, but we have no access and we don't have information to access these spaces, you know. So I'm trying to bridge this gap now, and it is going to be a hassle, I'm aware, because the mindset as well of people living in the township, how they are, it's like, you know, they have this, I can say, jungle mentality, that survival of the fittest, right? So, you know, we're supposed to be together as one. We're supposed to be unity, but we also look out for ourselves individually. So that, again, kind of segregates us, which is another problem. Coming back to what I want as a Black lesbian that lives in the township, I want to start a media movement, you know, an art movement in the township. And I know I will be facing difficulties because who would want to pay say about, I don't know, 10 rands, which is $1 here, it's equal to that. But, you know, I'm just saying that who will want to pay to watch a show whereas there's no food at home, you know? And obviously that makes it hard for me to be able to raise funds as well, because I'm aware that the people in my surroundings, it will be hard for them to support me or to support the movement. We have other issues as well as the youth in the townships, you know. Mental illnesses like depression is not really seen as an illness. They probably think that you're possessed. Even worse, if you were to come as a lesbian, being gay is still seen as un-African, you know. They see need to pray for you when you say, but I'm interested in the same gender, you know. They're like, no, but you need Jesus. And, you know, those things, and you wonder, like, how can we really get back to us as the youth of this generation, having to speak to our adults and make them understand that we are here. And yes, we are queer. And, you know, the tolerance that we need. We have so many challenges as well. Find that women in sports, black lesbians in sports, they want to join teams, but there's still racism, which is also a problem. So you find that here I am, a black lesbian, I want to be part of the football team. The coach is white. There are some white members as well in the team. And then, you know, there are just those differences. You know, you find that the coach doesn't treat you as, or doesn't treat the black team members as they treat the whites. There are just those segregations, which is still a problem as well. And coming back to safety, it's even hard for me, you know, just to be able to access your equipment. I mean, rocking up with that camera in the township, all eyes are on you. Imagine you have that equipment in your house every day. The boys in the hood are watching you. You are target. First of all, you're a target for being a woman. Second, you're a target for being a lesbian. Now you're a target for being, you know, carrying such equipment with you. So that safety and insurance and security of your stuff, it's kind of hard. And that, again, compromises the work that I would like to produce, because I live around these boys that are watching me, and I know my hood is not safe, and it's hard for me to capture the township for what it is, because I'm gonna go back home with that camera. What's gonna happen that night? What's gonna happen the night they get me at home alone? I live with my mother. What if they get me alone at home? What's gonna happen then? What if they do come and I'm with my mother? She's still a woman. Then what, you know? So I just wanna bring a piece to you. It's called Igasi. It's a piece I wrote just so that, you know, you get an understanding, a visual understanding of what the township is. So in Joburg, or in South Africa, we call the ghetto Igasi. So this piece is entitled Igasi, and it goes like this. Igasi is just another place where inconveniences and delays are frequently accepted with a smile and a patient heart. You pay for electricity that is bound to cut at any time. It's a blessing to survive a week without any blackouts. Umzabalazo, the struggle, is a traditional chant. The struggle continues in these streets. Igasi, the ghetto, where chicken feet are sold. Right, here's chicken feet. Where chicken feet are called kavela, bride and sold on the streets, served on a piece of newspaper. That is a takeaway. where people dance to the rhythm in every unique style ever imagined, fusing and fixing from every traditional dance in Africa and beyond. Zol is rolled in ad papers. The youth stays unemployed while job classifications are burned, inhaled, and exhaled without giving a single glance, except to examine the sparkles of the burning herb at hand. All you inhale are street dust and coal stove fumes. This is Ikasi. Ikasi is where I'm from. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Lebo. I have to do away with your chicken feet and become a vegetarian for that day. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for coming out this afternoon. I'm really grateful for your presence and really appreciate that you are here. I'm going to cut it sweet, straight and short, or either way around. But before I do so, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Michelle, who introduced me to MIT. About 8 years ago, I was invited to speak at a university. I didn't even know where that was. Somebody said it's one of the highest institutions in the US, and you had to speak to very important people. And I thought to myself, where do I start? And if I do start, how, you know? So, Michelle, I have learned to say something since the day you invited me. Thank you so much. I have been invited to a number of universities in the US because of that MIT invitation. I truly acknowledge and honor and appreciate your generosity. For some of you who might have seen what I'm trying to do and the work that I do, I will speak a little bit and share a short documentary, which is a collaboration that I had with Human Rights Watch, which will give you a context of how I do my work and how I connect with the people who are in my work. Sorry, sir, I have to move to the black spot because the light here is disturbing me. Sorry. I work with a number of people, which is why I call most people in my work participants, not subjects. I don't deal with human subjects, just for people who are taking photographs, who are dealing with subjects. I work with human beings who happen to be participants because they are partaking in an ongoing project that then informs also a number of people who happen to read or use that material as a reference or for reference purposes. For some of you who might have seen the exhibition upstairs, it's only 2 portraits, black and white portraits from Faces and Phases, like how Kate have mentioned earlier on. They form part of more than 220 images that I've taken over a period of 8 years. And it's a lifetime project in which I want to share with so many people the number of issues or struggles that many of us are facing in South African townships and beyond. When I came out, I really did not have any photographs that spoke to me as a Black lesbian youth at that time. So now as an adult, I thought to myself that complaining and crucifying people who are trying was not good. So I decided upon myself that what is in the archive mattered, but what I had to produce, you know, to speak to a number of human beings who were sharing the same space with me mattered. To say that there are Black lesbian who are existing in South Africa who form part of the 50 million population currently whose voices are not heard, and blame the academics and also scholars who are producing different kind of knowledges was wrong. So I've been on this journey for more than 12 or 13 years now, and I'm still producing. Sometimes it's hard because there's that lack of resources and supervision, and one has to find ways in which you do it painfully, but getting right there and then with the support of those who believe in what you do. Sometimes you don't get support at all. And support from home is difficult because of the situation in place, or maybe other crisis that is there. So Lebo is one of the few individuals featuring in my work, but there is a lot of them. And how I get to meet different individuals in my series, I'll meet someone through Michelle. Michelle will introduce me to Kate. Kate will introduce me to Liz. That's how we work. So in that way, there are no subjects. It's friends of friends or girlfriends or ex-girlfriends, and that's how we connect. Yeah, so it's been good so far. I have managed to produce more than thousands or 2,000 and many other documents that speaks to me. And I want to ensure that if any scholar here or any person who's studying feminism or studying women's studies, who's studying about any identity political kind of studies, mention Audre you'll obviously know what those people are talking about. So I had to make sure that if somebody think of like black lesbians in South Africa, you don't need to struggle because that material is there. So I'm producing that material. You know, I'm dedicated to that visual activism struggle. Kate, Ezra, Liz, Hannette, and your team, the curators who made sure that this show is possible. Laura, I had to come out here for you before Kate. But anyway, I'm here. Thank you. To everybody who made it possible for us to be here, we're really, really grateful because getting such recognition at home is rare. Again, I don't complain anymore. I make things happen. Thank you so much. I'm going to play this 11 minutes, 47 seconds. And if you have any questions, please jot them down. I'll respond to them when it's time. And it has almost everything. I manage or try to encapsulate almost everything. Some of you might have seen it. It's a collaboration between me and Human Rights Watch. I co-directed this with Katie and Malaika, who work on Komi Kuchu's project. Like I said, I don't work alone, I work with people. And collaborations, I'm open to anything. And the project specifically looks at documentaries, but I have photographs, I have performances, I have other stuff that I do with other people. Depends on how open we are. And for any scholars in the house who are planning to go to Africa and South Africa, I think it's very, very important for some of you or us to know that collaborations are very important to avoid that divide between the scholar, those with knowledges and those without knowledges, because those that you think are without knowledge, they are the ones who inform your studies. So that respect and those relationships are very, very important. And that's what I always emphasize and encourage people to think of each time they embark on any research journeys. So for the next 47 seconds, we're here. And then I'll then share with you a slideshow with almost all the photos featuring in faces and phases. And then I'll then explain to you what's going on. Nothing depressing, it's so easy. I teach with visual media because it's easy. You see, you listen, you think, you smell, you imagine, you want to be there if you care. So welcome to my cinema. I don't know who's responsible for lights. Can these lights be switched off completely, please?
special star that shines. It's gonna hit a lullaby. Special song to preface. Good. I'm Zanele Muholi, reporting live from South Africa. I'm a visual activist. I take photographs. The kind of work that I do is on queer politics, gender politics, politics of race. I'm fascinated by LGBTI individuals in different spaces. I've learned how beautiful this place is, how important our lives are, and why we should preserve a history about our own people, about us. Very, very interesting township. I've done a lot of shots here. I shot the first game here in 2002. I don't even know that they are lesbians who own dogs. This is for the first time that I know someone who owns a dog. Hey, the light is good here. Yeah. I'm going to shoot a follow-up portrait of Dumi in Mohawk. I used to be a hairstylist. Yeah, we had a lunch before we came out. Somebody asked me how influential am I when it comes to these portraits. And I said to people, I just want people to look good. I really, really want people to be fresh. We're going to the Bobo Prime. We're connected by photography. I was doing photo shoot here in Guatemala, and I thought that she was just a very nice person to be in the Faces and Faces series that I'm working on. You have a young generation that is growing up now, who doesn't share maybe the same, commonalities like lesbians who were out there in the 90s or late 80s before South Africa gained independence. The young lesbians now, they are socialites, connected by the social medias and all of that, and they're free when it comes to photographs, etc., etc. I know maybe some people get surprised when you start photographing.
I was surprised, but at the same time it was fun. I had fun and I didn't know that I'm actually so sitting there and to take yourself pictures.
So this is 3 years later. We are in the same township, and the township is so popular with gay lives. There are a lot of gay people in Guatemala. And also it has since become notorious for hate crimes because in 2008, a non-Baptist was brutally murdered here. 2012 was one of the most painful years in our history. We lost a lot of members of our communities. And hate crimes, specifically curative rapes and lesbian murders, became one of the brutality that is stained in our brains forever. We live in fear. Death happened to bind us. Hate crimes have become a binding factor for the LGBTI communities. We come together to either give support or to confirm that somebody has been killed. Then that person becomes a statistic. Another case number becomes part of our history. And what are we doing about it? Do we always go and attend funerals and then after funerals you go home, you wait for another funeral? What? You have to document. You are forced to document.
Transformation.
I don't want to do
Transformation by Zanele Muholi.
By you, this is your head. I'm using visuals as a way of creating awareness, capturing the moments, those truths and realities that while you learn about our cultures. I could give you something tangible and say, feel it, this is it, see. You're invited to be in that space even though you were not there. Let's put it in and out. We're shooting faces and faces, not fashion. Yeah. There is the other side of me when I perform. There is the other side of me when I'm me. How will you engage with me? You look so gay, yeah? You actually look like a drag queen. Most of the time I work with people that I know. They're no strangers to me. I call the people who are my photographs participants because you partake in a project that will inform many audiences.
And when it comes to these, yeah,
person who's interested in learning is welcome to learn how to take photographs. I provide cameras as long as a person will be able to document what will then become a contribution towards Inganiso, which is the organization that I formed. One cannot do these major projects alone, which is why I invited people to come on board and work with me, and it means that it's not lonely anymore. I started this project called Inganiso to ensure that people who are featured in my photographs get a platform to share their own lives and work. People get to read about sex, people get to read about anything that they will never, in as much as South Africa is so democratic, they'll never see that kind of text in the mainstream media. Most of the team members, we are black lesbians. Yeah, people occupy different positions within the Inganiso crew. Bungi is a documenter, and Lilata is a graduate, she's a journalist, and we just posted a new story on Pep Smear that she wrote this morning. Now I had to beg Lilata to cut that hair, and look how beautiful this person is. He did Lilata's portrait in 2010, so we're gonna have a nice photo-op shot. I train and I will continue to train with or without funding. Because if I wait for someone to validate my existence, it will mean that I'm shortchanging myself. Recently, we had to decide whether we buy a fridge where we live or we buy a new lens. So we sleep on the floor, it's nice, documenting with my crew, it's fabulous. I love the people that I work with. A lot of people are working with helps me, I think.
For, lesbian or even butch women, it's something that's, if I don't know if I can say taboo, but I don't know, you said you need me to revise it.
No, you have to do part two.
Part two, what's
I
part two
feel
about?
I don't think that you gave it your all, like how you write when you tackle the issue of hate crimes and what would you like to read about in the mainstream?
You don't even read, even when seeing, I'd like to see an advert of a family where it's the mother and the baby, when they're fighting germs in the household. It shouldn't only be about the violence and the homophobia.
We want to bring about change in spaces that are queerphobic. We still have religious leaders who want to use homosexuality as scapegoat for their own hate. Instead of dealing with poverty, instead of dealing with the corrupted systems that we find ourselves in, and that's what leads to many hate crimes. See where there's white Kokutwa is where Nokwaza was found. Nokwaza is a victim of hate crime who was brutally murdered. Her head was crushed with a big stone, her teeth were all over the place. Nokwaza's children are not the first to be offended by hate crimes. What will people say to the children what happened to their mothers? Nokwaza's case is still outstanding. I don't know how far do they investigate these cases. We all document the lesbian funeral. Every person was a cell phone with a camera. It doesn't matter what quality. And all of us come together in one space and download and share. You make that document viral. We want to say to our government, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about a lesbian funeral. It's my wish that we could find positive lesbian icons on Wikipedia as well, other than to always find brutal murders. You Google black lesbians in South Africa, you'll see what you see there. There's nothing that focuses on same-sex love versus these hate crimes. When do we start talking about intimacy? I produce pictures that are intimate because I'm an intimate being. This intimacy that disrupts the perpetrator leads to us being killed. It starts by the same-sex love that is disorganizing the mindset of the homophobe. More education is needed. Mainstream communities need to come on board and help us and ensure that there is no other hate crime. Projecting positivity sometimes can lead to the change. Projecting brutality and violations could lead to further violence. So I think that we need to find a balance in which we project these realities. last night. Once we're done here, we're going to put it up on social networks to make sure that people who might not be here understand what is taking place and get the visuals. People think that pink cities are Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg. People cannot even imagine that there is the book flood. It's very important for us to say that LGBTI individuals are all over. Any space is possible. So we're here to celebrate with the people of this province. It's about saying, I want to be counted in South African history. Claiming my full citizenship, it means that I have to write that part of history.
Let's have the DJ, let's have the music there.
I will be there forever.
That was 11 minutes 47. This document is accessible for educational purposes. For some of you who are dealing with women and gender studies and sexualities, could make a request to Human Rights Watch, and then we'll have it. And then it's just one of many documentaries that are there, need to be used and be accessed and let people get an understanding what is going on. I'm working on many other projects, and one of the biggest projects that I'm working on right now is to create an accessible. You okay, Liz? Okay. I see your movement. One of the major documents that we're working on now, last year I started blogging hectically, and then part of what I spoke about, the Inkanyiso collective, in which Lebo and other lesbian youth and trans youth in South Africa contribute, is online. I'll share with you. And all the things that I've mentioned in the documentary about hate crimes, about seeing the black lesbians in Wikipedia, those things are happening, and I'm going to make sure that for some who are not familiar with other events that are taking place in South Africa, I produce them. So I started compiling black lesbian sport women. That's not to say that I'm not looking at producing images of trans folks, because I do have friends who have since transitioned and so on and so on. So we're packaging these things accordingly and acknowledging the fact that, let me acknowledge the fact that there is an archive, gay and lesbian archive. It's called Gay and Lesbian History, Memory and Action. It's based at Wits University. But because of how the material is packed, some of the information that is there is either embargoed or you need some expertise to understand and read that archive. So I'm trying to come up with a strategy in which the community get involved and participate in this knowledge creation, in which they could say, I'm a member of the community and I participated in forming that kind of knowledge without having a degree or a PhD, if a PhD is a degree. But anyway, just to say to people, we have started, or we have revived the culture of reading and writing, where grammar doesn't matter much, but the content matters. Because in that way, people know that they're involved in something. They play with some text, they produce some text without thinking that they will be excluded because of the level of education. So I work with a number of individuals, but mostly those who are in my work. And then in terms of research, how I work in terms of research, those who are featuring in the series, they get to interview others who are also in the series. In that way, we are creating different kind of dialogues and let people network without being, divorced from each other. Because if we say we are together, it means that they need to be there are those levels in which we become practical about the togetherness. I'll quickly, for some who have not seen the link for the current or yesterday news, the link is called, I don't like mics very much, but I'll use it. Here's the link. So if you need to know more about some people who have spoken, like Lerato, for instance, who is a journalist, she writes a lot for us, and people, they volunteer to work on this. We don't have resources, therefore I can't promise people salaries. It means that I have to work in order for me to sustain this. I have managed to update quite a number of articles since I came here because your internet is super fast. So I took advantage of that. But on a normal day, it means if I want to post one article with a lot of pictures, I know that I have to use a lot of black bandwidth or lose a lot of money just waiting for one picture to come up. That's what it means to be in South Africa or Africa, maybe. Yesterday, I shared this link with so many people who are my friends on Facebook. It's a funeral of one of the leaders in our communities, and this person lived in Guatemala, where Lebo grew up, and then left for Cape Town and then back to the same space that she spoke about. But most of the youth did not know about this person. And then some people who work with Mangu were talking about the need of writing the history and let the youngsters get to know about the leaders that came before them. She was a lesbian activist and she died from cervical cancer. And then the pictures that you're seeing in this document were produced by one of the young female photographers who are in the project that we are currently running, in which we work with the school, and then the students in that school, they are given cameras, and then they document their daily activities. So we're doing it like bit by bit and involving as many people as much as possible because we want to encourage people to produce work within their own species, especially visuals and text. So this is a collaboration between a journalist and a young learner in order for us to have this particular article, because we can't always rely on mainstream like how I said it in that documentary. The mainstream could do much. Say how many Americans would like to feature in New York Times. You have a number of states, not everybody will make it there. And if you make it as a black queer person, you are lucky. That's the honest fact. And if that information that is even written about you in that document is positive, not sensationalized. So we kind of like trying to take control of media in ways that we want to, because those who came before us, they had a different struggle that they were fighting for. So ours is one of the major struggles that black lesbians are facing nowadays is the hate crimes. And also a number of lesbians are dying from illness or accidents. All those things need to be documented. I'll share with you just last document before we sit down with Lebo for your questions. Last month, we documented a hate crime incident or the funeral of Disable. When Lebo mentioned the challenges that the lesbian youth is facing. Last month, we woke up to the news of a brutal murder of Disable. Disable was a 23-year-old, or I'll say is. She was brutally murdered in Ventersdorp. Ventersdorp is known for being the city of the most racist man that once existed in South Africa, Terre Blanche. Nobody knew that this town existed beyond Terre Blanche, and then he was killed, unfortunately. But then we didn't even know that there were lesbians in that space until we heard of Disable's murder, and we had to go to Ventersdorp to document in Ventersdorp. So these are the images that we captured from the memorial service, and then how we also connect with the people in those spaces, like working with community members in order to ensure that we are safe, and we document accordingly in order to share these kind of, documents with you who are not home. there's a friend who was talking there. And also, you see in this document specifically, you have mothers like church leaders and mothers who are supporting the movement, whereas about 10 or 15 years ago, we did not have such support. And then in one of, unfortunately, this thing is red because of the back and forth light, my forgiveness, but if you could take the link on top, you'll be able to see better in your personal space. Is Yudi's mom holding a red bag. Yudi also was a soccer player who was brutally murdered in 2008. So we are capturing these realities as they happen now without relying much on what the mainstream media is doing. And we do follow-ups on main cases. This is an ID document of the deceased. She was born on the 23rd of November 1990. Very, very, very young person. So you're thinking to yourself that what is now in the archive, you'll find there are a lot of bloody documents like these ones, where a person get killed in order to, to be headlined and also to be archived. Whereas we could pack the archive that we produce, that not collected, because most people sometimes collect the archive, but to say we produce archive according to categories. We say there's an intimate batch, there's sport batch, there's academic batch, because you have a lot of queer professionals that are not documented, or maybe for personal reasons, etc. Then you have maybe an archive that has to deal with education, etc. So we, as a community, and the people who are already documented, going to pack this archive in order to make sure that in case the South African government decide to involve us in the National Historical Archive, we are there. Then to always separate us or divide us and say this is the National Archive, the queer archive need to be separate, but to say that we will help them, with some information in as much as ours is good and separate on its own, but to say we are part and parcel of our democracy, or we are citizens just like all of us. Because separation sometimes do not make sense, but to make sure that we are saying, listen to us, hear us, understand who we are, will be another strategy in which we deal with all the phobias that are there to be, from xenophobia to queerphobia to lesbophobia to transphobia and all the other, allergies that people tend to have unnecessarily. So also here in this document you have the family, the brother, because when you say that the victim is survived by so and so, in this document you have the brother of Disebo, who is Sepo, you have the mother, and then you have the sister Rina. And these are the people that before we documented, we spoke with them. So the strategies that we use and the strategies that are used by researchers will always be different, because we come there full time. We don't come only because we want something, but it's our duty to revisit or to go back to the family in order to get a full understanding of what is going on. Which is why in my work, it's always important to maintain the relationships that I've already established, because I need the people who are in my work. This is Disebo, the recent victim of hate crime. And the picture was provided by their sister. So this basically said, this is the face that never made it to Faces and Phases. You get what I'm saying? So the face never captured, I could say so. And if I knew her, I would have captured her. It's a pity, or it's so unfortunate that one had to rely on found or given image. All these things that you're seeing here, like the candle and what is put at the corner, these are the things that I'm willing to give like full explanations for people who don't understand about the rituals that are performed by our families when the victim of hate crime is found in a different space. To say you dissect everything in order for the listener or the viewer get the grip of what is going on when we take images. In closing, I'll just show you That's the link in kanyeso.org. There's quite a number of documents. We have more than 500 posting since last year, January. And for any questions, we do have in About Us, the first page, we have a link or an email in which you could contact us. So this is an open structure, not dependent to any governmental institution or funded by any donor. I'll show you just this PowerPoint of some of these images. So how I work, let me try to, how I work, every person in my work has a name and surname. There are no sleeping beauties. That's the choice I made. So, and then I get to connect with people, speak with people, and request others to write their own stories. Some of the stories of the individuals in Faces are written in that blog, and then there will be a publication that will come out next month or at the end of this month to be published by Stadel Press, which is a German publisher, which has the photographs plus the narratives of the people who are featuring in it. And it basically treats each and every portrait as somebody's biography, not just a photo that is taken by Zanele mounted on the wall. So there's a story behind each and every photograph that you see in that installation. And each and every person has his or her own life, like Lebo who shared her own. And also to encourage that it's very, very important for us to write our own histories. And if you know that there are people with interesting stories out there, please encourage them to write them. We don't necessarily need to know or hear about disasters before we even know who those people are. This is P, where some of the individuals in this series, I meet them at funerals. Like I'll go to a funeral and meet a nice young dyke, and it happened that it's somebody's ex, and that ex is somebody who happened to be maybe close to my ex or exes. So that's how we tune it. Yeah. Okay, Colin is a photographer. She has also contributed in Kanyeso. As Piwe is Colin's friend. Shemaine is someone that I've known since 1999. She's also a photographer. This is Ricky. Ricky is a trans activist from Botswana and currently works for Gender Dynamics in Cape Town. And she's someone that I have shared quite a special moments with. So I'll say, unlike other people who are doing photographies or who are producing photographs, that connection and that relationship is very, very, very important. Batini, I've known Batini for more than 10 years. We work together at Few. She's a salon owner. And this is Lita. Lita is Tera's girlfriend, and Tera is my friend, and Tera happened to be a photographer. So to create this archive is tiring but interesting and possible because everybody is connected to the next person and we learn from each other. So these are quite a number. This is Tera, whose girlfriend is this one. And I have a picture of them in an intimate position. This is Nospiwo, who is Tera's friend, and Tera is this one's girlfriend. Yeah. So it goes a long way. For my previous documentary called Difficult Love, this is Nolundu. Nolundu spoke about having blown the whistle when Millicent was raped in Cape Town. So it became a chain of black lesbians connected by the struggle or struggles of different kind. Yeah. And one of my biggest mission now is to document lesbians over 40. Unlike here in the US, you find that there's a lot of lesbians who came way before us, and you have a reference point. For me, these youngsters are still photogenic, like how the other one mentioned. And then some people who are over 40, they have reservations, so I have to persuade them. So for any photographer who knows how difficult it is to document, persuasion skills are a must. Persuasion skills are a must. So I'm trying every day. So lesbians over 40, trans men over 40. You know, you have your Leslie Feinberg here, you have your James Green here, you have your people, you know, you have your Imani Henry here. I know you guys because I'm interested in them. You have a reference point. So it is that kind of information that I'm trying to capture in order to share with you and also educate you about us, than for you to always tell us about us when we are there. Yeah, so this is a whole lot. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Some of the people in the series are lesbian mothers whose children become ours, you know, or our own children. So that documentation also is needed of Black lesbian mothers, of Black lesbian trans men and so on. And why I'm saying Black specifically, because we want to challenge that notion of homosexuality as an African, transgenderism as an African being, you know, adopted from the West. So it is through this documentation in which we'll say, actually, it's not true, it's a myth, because we are here. Thank you so much for your patience.
So Lebo and Zanele will answer some questions for about 5 or 10 minutes. Oh, okay.
For any questions right here, we only have 10 minutes. It's Friday. Sure, there's some of you want to be somewhere. Yeah. Again, thank you so much, Kate, and your department. Liz, you've been so kind. I'm coming back. I am coming back. This is not going to be for the last time. Yeah, sure. For any questions right here. Sure.
So, from what I believe that when South Africa got a new constitution, the constitution was incredibly inclusive towards LGBT, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering about that tension between, say, a state which is on paper supposed to be inclusive and the realities, and how do you negotiate this role of, say, the state or the government on paper supposed to be?
Sure. For some of you who know or might not know of South African history or South African queer history, South Africa gained independence in the 90s. We voted for the first time in 1994. And in 1996, May, the South African government ensured that we had the LGBTI clause included in the constitution, which makes us one of the best countries in the world because no US state or no European state has all that we have, counting from the same-sex marriages layered with the adoption rights, layered with the spousal rights, and also layered with the medical aid rights, etc., etc. This place is becoming hectic. Yeah, but I'll finish quickly. So when we had that right, it meant that we were given the right to protections as LGBTI people. That is on paper, but the realities, you know, when you look at what is going on out there in the townships and also different spaces, a lot of gay people have been hurt, big time. Not only at workplace, etc., but in spaces in which they live, where they reside, you know. And the township has become one of the spaces in which a lot of curative rapes are taking place and a lot of brutal murders are taking place. You know, when I spoke with Andrew yesterday, I forgot to mention, there was a massacre that happened in Cape Town at Sizzlers. This is in 2003, South Africa, almost 10 years after the state adopted the constitution. So what is on paper, like what you read in the textbook and how you theorize what's in the textbook, is not happening in real life. And dealing with that constitution, and when you look at the population size and the realities of the people are two different things. There are people who need education, there are people who don't need education. And it meant that when the state, I'll call South Africa state for now, but there's nothing like that. The state, when they proposed and also corrected or amended that constitution, they had to do a massive educational campaign in which everybody was prepared for this queer agenda or agendas. So not everybody was ready. In a way that there have been discussions in which traditional leaders were looking at reversing or proposing that the government reverse that rights for the people to express themselves like how we do. So the book, exactly. So the book and real life are two different things, because it's people at the end of the day who practice or who enforces things within different kind of settings. Yeah, thanks. Is there another question? I'm on Twitter, so in case you're scared to ask a question, you'll find me there. And also on Facebook, like my real name, there's no pseudonym. So I'll be open to respond to your questions in Zulu, and somebody will help you with translation.
If they want to see more of your work, tell them about the book. Andrew has a question in the back.
Sure, Andrew.
Just a quick kind of practical question. Both of you have mentioned some of the challenges to doing the amazing work that you're doing and sharing. Is there, or what are some of the ways that those of us who are over here can help support the work that you're doing?
For Lebo's initiative, I think she needs a lot of education and skills. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to give people money, but skills, because some of you are more skilled than us, you know. Collaborations, I think, in that regard are very, very important. To say, surely you've been to South Africa, you know what is lacking, or some kind of intervention that you could come up with. For me, like I'm learning, I still want to master WordPress, but to learn how to make sure that people get as much information out there as possible without relying on big machines, because not everybody owns a Mac, not even here. But to say, how do we distribute these queer knowledges as much as possible? And when I say queer, please forgive me, guys, that's not to say I'm excluding trans individuals or community, to say we need collaborators for our LGBT groups. And if you know that we could do things better, I'll be happy. But most of all, seeing that I'm speaking at the university, a lot of our community members are without education. Those with education, maybe they are not out enough, but there are some who are out. And I think that maybe if some of you know of scholarships, we have a lot of professionals who are unemployed. Maybe if we could start some collaborative processes, we'll be eliminating, you know, a lot of things, you know. Yeah, maybe dealing with poverty and unemployment and sharing resources the way we know how to. Lebo.
Wow, I feel like, am I audible?
Yes.
All right. I feel like speaking after Zanele is just like, yeah, what she said. Right, yeah, you know, about opportunities. Okay, my focus is mostly on the youth right now, you know. Because thinking of the youth that was the youth in 1976 when South Africa was under racial segregation, right? And the youth in 1976 focused mostly on getting education in their languages, you know, rather than being taught in the oppressor's language. Compared to the youth now, okay, the youth back then as well, they probably fought for like having electricity and stuff like that, you know, and equality, you know, because black people, you know, the non-whites and the whites or Europeans only services type of thing, you know, we also had that. So us, the youth of this generation, we have different wants or needs, you know, compared to the youth of 1976. Yes, there is still some racism here and there. However, we are hungry for opportunities, you know, especially being stuck in the township where you cannot access these kind of spaces, you cannot access some other information, you know, and you find that some newspapers as well, it's instead of using a newspaper to find or to apply for a job, the newspaper somehow becomes your toilet paper because there is no toilet paper, type of things. So we need access. We need access to information. We need access to opportunities, Other people, they have a variety of opportunities, and for them it's like, oh my God, I have to choose between this and that. Which one do I choose? Okay, I'm gonna choose this. Okay, trash these ones. Are you aware what those trashed opportunities would have done for someone else, And being stuck in these Kasi walls, Ikasi being the township, you become so dead-brained, you just end up accepting that this is your situation and you're probably just one of those people that will die, with nothing to own and stuff. So yeah, opportunities definitely.
I wanted to say thank you to Zanele and to Lebo. I know, Lebo, you would like to end or have us conclude with a poem, so
Right.
this would be a great time.
Okay, no more questions? Right. Okay, I'll have 2 mics or something. I'm not sure. I'll switch off one. Coming to United States, it's my first time out of South Africa, and wow, it had to be America that breaks the virginity, right? So I just, composed a piece of the different challenges that we have as South Africans and Americans, the challenges that we have, and thinking that September month for America, yesterday was, it marked 13 years, I should think, of the 9/11. Am I still audible? Right. And heritage is celebrated in South Africa in September, So to think of the differences that we live in, we are in one world, we are all humans, however, we face different challenges. You are mourning, we are celebrating, 1976, June 16, I don't even know what America was doing, but South Africa was at war, you know what I mean? So just I put a piece together. It's 9/11, which is also 911, which is a rescue code in America, and in South Africa it's 10/111. So I put a piece together, sort of a platform for both of these nations to unite. I call it 11/111. Probably the number won't exist if you call it, but hey, we can make it happen, right? Both of us, right? This was also inspired by Zanele, having to give me an opportunity to travel abroad, and spending time with Zanele has been enlightening. And by the way, if you're wondering, Inganiso means enlightenment, of which that is what I've found in Inganiso. I have found enlightenment. All right, I think I'll switch this off while I do the poem. Does this work? Okay. Right, keep this here. All right. There we go. Please don't cry. If you start crying, I'll cry. Okay. 11/111. Please state your emergency. This is the agency with the tendency to remedy the scream that has become neighborhood's melody. They left their homes. They ran, maybe 8 miles, 9, 10, 11, maybe. Maybe not run, rather ring. 10,111, maybe. 911, maybe. 11,111. Say a sentence with 11 words, followed by 111 word. Say a sentence with 11 words. Hi, my name is Victim. I am at house number, name street, followed by a 111 word. Help, help, help. Let's sit around the fire and tell our stories. Let's sit around the fire. Let's tell our stories around the fire. The fire we saw that left our hearts aching sore. No longer just one, I or you, but two, us. Two nations, two victims, the citizens, two perpetrators, the terrorists. The terror of two terrorists that invade our homes and destroy our families. 2011, in 2 hours, 2 planes took 2 buildings down. 1976, in over 2 decades, too many youth died for freedom in their own land. Today, we are still mourning. Morning comes, morning goes, and night comes. Smothering darkness filled with nightmares, filling our feelings, mourning with morning sickness. All that remains are pictures, memories, the scent of their clothes, encumbering us from the courage to face the day, come what may. Let's sit around the fire. Let's talk about the fire. The fire we did not desire nor require, not as an empire, not entire. The fire that burns within us for forgiveness, for fear, for revenge. The fire that sparks in our eyes of fury, of pain. Let's sit around the fire. Let's talk about the fire. 9 elevating to cloud 9, be the souls that rest in peace. 10 times better, be their living loved ones' stories of sharing disappointments and appointments. 11,111, please state your emergency. Thank you. Yeah, you can check. Right. I think just to, I don't know what I did to the screen. I think just to calm down the mood and bring us back to Friday night, I'll just read a piece I wrote about, I don't know what I did to the screen really. Where do I find that iPhone or iPicture thing? All right. Any assistance? Is it iPicture or iPhoto? For iPhoto. I think those pictures are still there. All right, this is a piece I wrote about a very beautiful sister of mine who just has a very beautiful birthmark, you know. It's called Beauty Left on Her Left. And it goes, beauty beheld on her birthmark. She walks, it dances between her knee and thigh. What a mark left on her left. Dark brown rests on her light brown leg. She sits with her legs crossed while her suspended foot dangle up and down. The dark brown works as a hypnotic zoom that catches my eye. Her fancy fit legs, let me just stop this. Okay, I don't know how to get hold of the presentation slideshow. Her fancy fit, lovely long legs, I stare. She lays like caramel with scented chocolate mousse is lovely to lick. So is her leg to look. I feel power exerted from her nature, causing my silly motions and sarcastic mind to measure the distance between her mark and her cloth material. Dressed in boots, in her gladiator outfit, she outfits her moves around her homeyard. She belongs to the wilder side of my thoughts. She's a Leo. Cleo or Patrick would faint from her natural deal, smothering clock clouds with fresh air. She grips fear by its gut with her spear and unleash great power of the speed of her mind, mouth, and movement. Are you still with me? I'm talking about the beauty left on her left. Thank you.
Thank you, Lebo. Thank you, Zanele, and thank you everyone for coming for today's program. And thank you. That's all I want to say.